I hope you're watching this video on Tuesday and got a chance to take advantage of the long weekend because the weather has been amazing. Hey everybody, it is week 4 of CIT 12. Hopefully you had a great weekend. For us, this is going to be a fairly standard week. Now before we get into this week's material, some of you are having some issues on the labs, right? As you're going through the lab, you're discovering that on your particular piece of hardware, maybe something isn't there or isn't working. This is particularly affecting Mac users and people who use laptop computers. Sometimes laptop computers, they have to use a smaller keyboard and the manufacturer wants things to look clean. So there may be some keys that just aren't there. For instance, in the last lab, there was a question that asked you to press Control+End, and that just takes you to the very bottom of the document. Well, you may not have an end key. There may be something where if you push a different combination of characters or keys, you can get to an end key, but if you don't happen to have that printed on the keyboard, it can be kind of hard to find, etc. In that particular instance, all that does is it just takes your insertion point, your cursor, to the very bottom of the document. My IT lab is set up so that if there are multiple ways of solving something, you can do it in multiple ways. And so in this case, you can actually just scroll down to the bottom of the document and click at the bottom of the document, and that will put your insertion point in at the bottom. You can go about your question and it'll give you full credit. It accepts that as an alternative to the key command to get to the bottom of the document. And so that works for people who are on laptops or who are on Mac computers. Mac computers tend to not have those unless you have the full keyboard. So anyway, that being said, if you're having issues, just send me an email and I can try and work them out. This is particularly important if you're a Mac user. So far, every question we've had has been doable by Mac users. Usually it's just a matter of switching which key you use. Mac users use the command key to do stuff. So like to copy text, right? You select the text and you choose Command C to copy. But on a PC, and my IT lab is simulating PC software, you have to push Control C. Which you have on a Mac keyboard, you just have to not do what you would normally do on a Mac. And so that can be a little awkward, but it's at least fairly doable. Coming up, there will be a couple questions that I don't know that we have a workaround for. I know Person's just published something for Mac users, and so I'll check it out to see. I'm a Mac user myself, and so most of the stuff that I do is on the Mac. But it may be that there are some questions on a Mac you just can't answer, and usually they involved a very specific behavior. They call them discontinuous selections. So not ones where you select the top one, you hold down Shift, you select the bottom, and then it selects all the ones in between. Mac users can do that one just fine. But when you want to just select a couple items out of the list and have them simultaneously selected, you have to do a discontinuous selection. You hold down, instead of Shift, you hold down Control, and then whatever you click, you'll just select those items, right? Well, it works out great, except that on a Mac, you would do the same thing with Command, but you can't do that because it's PC software, so you have to use Control. And when you use Control and click, a Control click on a Mac is a right click. It's the equivalent of a right click. That comes back from the days when Macintoshes used to only have one button on their mouse, and they stuck with that for a long, long time. So, needless to say, those questions you just can't solve on a Mac because when you try to do it, it just keeps right-clicking on the thing you're trying to select. This can be annoying. I don't know if there's a workaround, but point being, if you are a Mac user, make sure you send me an email just to tell me so that I can help you out. Again, I'm a Mac user, so there's not very many of you. I'll try to take care of you. All right, now for this week. This week is week 4. We're going to be looking at Chapter 3. Chapter 3 is all about the internet and about all the great things the internet can do. So make sure you read Chapter 3. There's a mini lecture in the week 4 folder, so be sure to check that out. It's all about the internet, where it started, how it works, maybe some things you don't know about it, and yeah. We also talk a little bit about some of the changes that have gone on. And I mentioned something in the lecture that ends up becoming part of our discussion for this week. Before I get to the discussion, make sure you do the quiz for Chapter 3. I had a couple questions this week about quizzes. Quizzes, remember, you can do them as many times as you want. There is no limit. If you want to take the quiz 100 times, you can take the quiz 100 times. I would really hope you wouldn't have to, but I mean, because it's open book. But if you want to, you can. You can take it as many times as you want up until it disappears, and it will disappear after its 1 week grace period has disappeared. So it doesn't disappear on the day it's due, it disappears 1 week after the day it's due. So for the week 4 quiz, it will be available all week 4, all of week 5, and then it'll disappear. All right? Just in case you were somebody who had that question. So quiz chapter 3, make sure you get a score in. Our discussion for this week is all about a website called Wolfram Alpha. Now, Wolfram is a company that does a lot of mathematics software. In fact, if you take calculus at Fresno State, you will probably use a Wolfram product as a part of that class. That's how just pervasive Wolfram has become in the world of mathematics and software. But they've created something called Wolfram Alpha, and it's been around for a few years now. It's actually what powers a lot of the Siri answers when you ask your phone about, what's the population of Brazil, something like that. But the idea here is that Wolfram Alpha works a little bit differently. It looks, when you go to the website, a lot like Google. It's got a little search bar, it's got the logo, great, right? But when you start typing something into Wolfram Alpha and you hit enter, what you get is different. The idea of Google is it's a search engine for the internet. So you type in some keywords and Google will respond with a bunch of websites that use those keywords in an order that it thinks will lead you to the site you most likely want. Wolfram Alpha is different. It doesn't care about the internet. What it has is a huge database of information. And so the idea is that you're not searching the internet, you're searching that Wolfram Alpha database. And you can ask Wolfram Alpha all sorts of questions. You could ask for the number of calories in an ounce of cheddar cheese. You can ask Wolfram Alpha who won the Best Actor Award, Academy Award in 1984. You can ask it, all sorts of different things. And in fact, there are 2 videos in the week 4 folder in that discussion section where the guy who created Wolfram Alpha will actually talk to you about and just do some sample searches for all of this different information. Things about pharmaceuticals, chemistry. The idea is that as opposed to giving you a list of websites that might have information about the thing you want, Wolfram Alpha, as much as possible, just tries to give you the answer. So if you say, what's the unemployment rate in Fresno, California, it will say 10.4%, which I think is actually accurate as of right now. Which is kind of sad, but whatever. Point being, don't ask it things that will depress you. Wolfram Alpha will just give you the answer. All right. Now, Wolfram Alpha is also tied to Wolfram, so you can use it for a lot of math stuff. I do tell students in the face-to-face classes, it is a great and powerful tool. Don't use it to cheat on your math homework because it does more than any graphing calculator. In fact, if you don't have a graphing calculator for a math class and you need one, Wolfram Alpha is a free graphing calculator. I mean, so that's saving you 85 bucks right there. But in addition, it can do stuff like you can type in an equation and it will give you the answer to that equation, like x equals -2 or 2. And it will give you alternate forms which are essentially the intermediary steps that you would use to write down show your work, right? It allows you to cheat at math homework, which is a bad thing. You don't want to cheat at your math homework. So anyway, don't cheat with your math homework, but just know that it's there to help. And it's not a bad thing to actually check your answers if you're doing your math homework. Besides which, I've seen apps that'll actually make cheating on math homework a heck of a lot easier. That's not what Wolfram Alpha is about. It's the idea of getting answers rather than helping you to search for something. And so that's the thing. Check it out, play with it, do a couple of questions yourself. Maybe something you're studying. Hey, I want to know about a particular animal, and so you type in the name of the animal and maybe it'll give you some information. Maybe you're taking economics and you'd like to know, hey, what's the GDP of California versus the GDP for another state like Texas? And try and compare the two, right? I don't know, which has the bigger economy, California or Texas? whatever it is, do some searches and then tell me what you think. Tell the class what you think. And then make sure you respond to another person in class. That way you keep the conversation going. So that's the discussion this week. It's on Wolfram Alpha. Yeah. Then my IT lab this week is on Word again. It's just Word Lab 2, going a little bit deeper into Word, a little bit less of just, you know, bold facing and text color. But anyway, going into some additional features of Word. Should be fairly self-explanatory. Hopefully you enjoy it. We've got, after this, one more lab in Word, and then we'll have the Word practical exam covering all 3 of those Word labs. So anyway, read chapter 3, check out the internet check out the lecture on the internet, do quiz 3, our quiz for chapter 3, the discussion on Wolfram Alpha, and my IT lab. All right, and that should be it for the week. All right, so that is everything you should know for this week. If you have any questions, be sure to email me, brian.baker@fresnocitycollege.edu. And yeah, have a great week. I will see you online.